Hello, hello, hello. So this is not my round one match of GP Zakros. I'll get to what happened to that a little later because this is HSquid versus crushcastles. Uh, in short version, something bad happened to my round one recording, but I wanted to get you guys a round one match. So this is looking to be an interesting one because Crush in the top corner is on blue-red Flashback. Uh, kind of a tempo value deck with lots of graveyard. But here we see HSquid is pointing a mono red deck in the chat. That's I think that means on the play. Um, HSquid is on Naya Plushies built around Plush Collection. Uh, Basically mid range deck that happens to have a lot of activated abilities. But we just saw Mulligan there. I didn't have a lot of time to look at that hand. That then takes advantage of Plush Collection. Um, let's look at these two hands. HSquid has mulliganed once. It is now looking at a one-lander with no white mana, so this is going to be a mulligan again. Yeah, with white mana, I think you might keep that. Just hope to draw a second land. You can contest coordinator. Okay, and we put down two Ironback Tykes, and we're keeping three lands, Escapist Tyke. This is not the worst five, although obviously five is not good, especially on the play. Turn two Escapist, turn three Tyke. That's like a reasonable curve, although you don't have much after that. Meanwhile, Crush is looking at removal, Ripples of History, Blistering Cryo Phoenix, three lands. So it's going to be turn one Primal Fissure and a pass. And it looks like this concurrent escapist is likely to eat a Firebolt or a Set Ablaze next turn. Crush probably looking, especially with an opponent on a mull to 5, just remove all of their stuff and then uh, trade one for one. And then once they're out of stuff, uh, Cryo Phoenix and Ripples of History can accrue enough value to carry the game. But by no means decided yet. This foreign encounter could get something good. Crush gets a mountain, that makes sense. Already has the island in hand. Draws Industrialize. That's. I think probably I would just Set Ablaze, discard Industrialize Ripples of History here. Just get the flashback cards into the graveyard, keep churning through your deck. Maybe find more removal. The plushie deck, it can really go off if it has like plush collection and a card activated ability to keep making copies of it. Looks like it's going to be Firebolt rather than Set Ablaze here. So that we can also cast a high voltage at HSquid's face. Very interesting. So Crush looking for a more aggressive line here, which is a little unusual. And HSquid very glad to draw the plush collection here. That card is it's the thing the deck is built around, and it's especially good in this matchup where Crush has, I believe, no main deck ways of removing it. So it's just gonna have to rely on consistently killing every creature HSquid puts down. Yeah, high voltage face, very aggressive play there. Not sure I agree with it, but Crush certainly has a more experience with this deck than I do. But we see Ironback Tyke first. No reason to put down the plush collection when it's not going to do anything. Better to ensure you hit your fourth land drop, which you will, thanks to Tyke. And Crush, now with no high voltage, no clean way to kill Ironback Tyke in hand. This might be Cryo Phoenix, bin a bunch of flashback cards, start looking for answers. Although this Tyke, uh, it's on 4 permanents with activated abilities. It's guaranteed going to be 5 next turn because of planes. So HSquid is going to need 2 more permanents before Tyke can flip. So there is a little bit of time for Crush here. Mountain, and this looks like Cryo Phoenix. Yeah, what do you discard? I would discard at least the 2 flashback spells, probably the land, because you're pretty likely to draw land in the process. Do you keep Set Ablaze? Honestly, I could easily see the pitch for discard the whole hand here. I'm going to pop out Crush's Graveyard because there is a flashback card in there. There's okay, we're dishing 3, keeping Set Ablaze. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Draw, draw. Oh no! Oh no! It's okay. It's not that bad. We can discard 2 of them to the Set Ablaze eventually, and we also have an Industrialize in the graveyard, which can get rid of one of them. But that is not exactly what Crush was looking for. And this looked like a way that HSquid could get back in this game if this foreign encounter hits well. Um, and Crush isn't able to come up with a 3 damage burn spell anytime soon. Draw of Concurrent Escapist is quite good here. That's corrupted right now because of Ironback Tyke, and with your opponent tapped out, you know there's nothing bad that's going to happen to that. Although, probably just for mana efficiency reasons, going to cast one of the threes. That could easily be Escapist. And it's Escapist. Yeah, Escapist gives you 6 mana next turn, even through a removal spell, which is quite likely 5 mana next turn. Um, you're hoping they both survive because that gets you um, cast both of these, which is a pretty efficient turn. Also, that is 7 permanents for Ironback Tyke. Crush needs something a little tempo here. Savvy Smith. Okay. Well, we can go land, Savvy Smith, set ablaze, discard 2 lands. We kill 1 escapist. Now, obviously, we have Cryo Phoenix in place. It would be great to start flashing things back, but these don't affect the board. And really, as Crush, you have to be fearing just minimum. Tyke, activate, make the entire board into 3/3s, attack you for 9. Looks like a pretty uncomfortable play here. So I'd be surprised if we did not see Set Ablaze on one of these games. I guess you can industrialize first, and then get a mana off of Savvy Smith, and then you can still Set Ablaze. That's probably better. That just churns through your deck. Industrialize is pretty free with Cryo Phoenix in play. Yep, that makes sense. Savvy Smith gonna add probably blue mana here. Yep, and then we're gonna be able to just churn through the deck. I assume that Crush is just looking for like stuff like high voltage right now. More Savvy Smiths, obviously never a bad thing to have, especially against a very removal light deck like HSquid's. Temple of Origins on top, didn't want that, put that down. We draw an Igneous Visions, which presumably we will discard, because there's a Cryo Phoenix in play, and it looks like there will be a Cryo Phoenix in play for a while. Okay, we discarded Mountain. We're going to discard both of these this turn. Does not super matter. And this is Set Ablaze on one of the Escapists. Is there a reason to prefer the token or the non-token? Neither! We are hitting neither of the Escapists. We are hitting face with Set Ablaze. Very interesting. Crush playing this much more aggressive. I think it's reasonable as if you're Crush here to think I am not getting through on the ground against this deck which has tons of creatures. I am not going to be able to out-control them forever with my limited selection of burn against potential plush collections. So I need to win by burn, and I need to do it within a reasonable time frame, which is okay. But what this does mean is that HSquid is going to be able to deploy some combination of plush collection, activate Ironback Tyke, and cast foreign encounter here. And you look, yeah, I think plush collection makes a lot of sense. That makes you copies of Concurrent Escapist, only one at a time because it says if this isn't a token. Yep, and we are making concurrent. So if you haven't seen this before, plush collection plus Concurrent Escapist means you get 2 per turn cycle. You get 1 on your turn and 1 on your opponent's turn, which is just ramps you up super super fast. Eventually, you can make them all huge with Ironback Tyke. We're in the cast foreign encounter here. Would love. Okay, I'm not super familiar with HSquid's deck, but presumably looking for more Ironback Tykes would be nice. Menelaya would make things bigger. It's a Menelaya. Okay. Menelaya also, of course, has an activated ability. You can make copies of Menelaya of Plush Collection, but of course, she is legendary, so you only get to keep one of them. Right. Menelaya has a counter from foreign encounter and gets to put 1 on each of the untapped creatures. So next turn, HSquid is going to be looking at 1, 2, 3, plus another concurrent escapist, so 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana. So can at that point pretty much stop copying concurrent escapists and start copying Ironback Tyke, getting an increasing army of 7/7s. So in other words, Crush does not have an enormous amount of time here. Ironback Tyke crushing in here for 4 might chump that with a construct, but next turn Um, at minimum, we have Ironback type activation. Um, turn the board into what 7 plus 7 plus 1, 15 points of attacking creatures. But, yeah, sorry. Foreign encounter is not Ozin's Blessing. It gets the creature untapped. So we have an untapped Menelea. Not that I expect Menelea blocking to happen this turn. That seems like no harm, no foul. I doubt that Savvy Smith was attacking into the 2/3 escapist, anyways. But good to catch that here before opponent made any decisions. And despite this being a Moldify for HSquid, they look to be in a commanding position here with their engine set up, and Crush still pretty decently far away from killing them. They're at 13. They're going to take 2 off Cryo Phoenix. It looks like it's going to take at least 2 turns to kill HSquid here. Okay, we draw Set Ablaze. There is Igneous Visions available in the graveyard. Igneous Visions plus Cryo Phoenix is an excellent combo, means you can Igneous as long as you want. Back in the plane chase, GP, you could actually go infinite if you had the plane that gave you Tower of the Tech Magi, the plane that let you untap a land whenever you cast a sorcery. That was silly. I got to do that once. Yeah, and at this point, Crush's burn plan, um, which I'm beginning to see more of the justification for the burn plan, but at this point, whether it was a good idea or not, you're bought into it. You have to win this game by burn. You're hoping to Set Ablaze, discard some of these slow cards like Industrialize and Ripples, to go find High Voltage. That's the number one card you want to draw, just the most efficient burn spell in your deck. With Savvy Smith and Cryo Phoenix, Crush can see a lot of cards and generate a decent amount of mana this turn. I expect to see this Primal Fissure discarded to either Savvy Smith or Set Ablaze, searching for an untapped land. But we are starting off with an Igneous Visions. Okay, Savvy Smith, first trigger, going to be Construct, makes sense. Backside of Ironback Tyke, I cannot look at right now, but I do not believe it has Trample, it just has Vigilance. Igneous Vision sees Industrialize, not really what you were looking for. You already have access to one Industrialize, and with Cryo Phoenix, one Industrialize is all the Industrialize you'll ever need, because you can just keep casting it over and over again. So that Industrialize may or may not be cast this turn. But looks like it will. Make use of the Igneous value to Industrialize. Savvy Smith for... Okay, C for Construct, D for Discard. Okay, sure, we're discarded as I said. Primal Fissure drew another tap land, which is not ideal. Crush looks at top card library, sees Keranos, and chooses to draw it, and then discard probably one of the 1 mana flashback spells. With Cryo Phoenix in play, having them in your graveyard is the same as having them in your hand. Yeah, Igneous Visions goes back down. Keranos is good. Is it close to being on? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is not close to being a creature, unfortunately, which would be very helpful right now, having that 5/5 blocker. Yep, Set Ablaze, and this is definitely going face. And we're going to get a mono off of Savvy Smith to hopefully play whatever we draw here. Actually, a decent question. You could add red, in which case, if you top deck a high voltage, you're able to cast it immediately. Or you could add blue, which means you'll be able to flashback industrialize if you don't draw a high voltage. Looks like we're adding blue, playing the conservative play, which I think makes sense. You're going to have chance. You're going to need at least one more turn to do this, and um, you'll have a chance to cast high voltages that you draw on that turn. And we're keeping the tap land here because we do want to hit a land drop, if at all possible. Do we draw off of the Set Ablaze? I feel like there should be more cards in hand right now. Not my place to point stuff like that out, but that's a negative miss trigger, so that's just Crush's bed to lie in. But I think, wait, let me just look at that. Yeah, Set Ablaze discarded 2 cards and then drew 0 cards. Brass Oracle, okay, we're on the burn plan. That's what we wanted. Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest, even with 2 additional cards. Yep. And we are going to see Menelea make. We're not making copies of Concurrent Escapists. We don't need any more mana. We're making copies of Menelea now to make all our creatures into big relevant threats. Sorry about that. Menelea is, of course, legendary and will immediately die, but will be able to put counters on, presumably, these 2 Concurrent Escapists. Okay, so let's look at this Brass Oracle. Brass Oracle means that each sorcery deals 2 damage to your opponent. And because of Clara Phoenix, you can cast infinite 1 mana sorcery. You can just Igneous, 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 Igneous back and forth between your hand and graveyard for really as long as you want. Wait. Oh, never mind. I retract my earlier statement. Plush collection. This says it isn't legendaries. We have a non-legendary toy Menelea on the battlefield here. Okay, we're going to activate Ironback Tyke, and we have way more than 7 permanents of activated abilities. I see. Yeah, we removed a counter to make the Menelea, and then we put the counter back on with the new Menelea, of course. This Ironback Tyke attack is going to be quite large. Let's see. These are both 3/3s. These are all 4/4s. That is an 8/8. Luckily for Crush, none of these things have tramp. Oh God! Oh, I was wrong. I've been wrong about 2 things today. Ironback Sovereign also has trample. That is a big deal right now. Also, HSquid choosing not to make a copy of Ironback Tyke with Plush Collection on that activation, which is interesting. And what's Crush's blocks look like? Crush's Crush can chump a Menelea 8 + 6. No, Crush is extremely dead. You have to chump with Savvy Smith and take 18. That's still lethal. Okay, what a mull to 5. Have to wonder how that would have turned out differently if Crush had instead tried to kill creatures. I think because there were 2 escapists, Crush never had an opportunity to kill like both escapists. Let's go look at the sideboards. This is Crush's sideboard. We have the Soul Guide Lanterns, Satyr Arsonists. I don't see a ton of things. You might bring in Molten Erosion, Wormshot, or Frag just as more removal. Molten Erosion is decent because of all the escapist tokens that can sometimes accumulate, but no like silver bullets here. Unfortunately, Blue Red doesn't really have any like enchantment destruction you could bring in, or like big sweepers that would be nice here. Could have played Invasion's End, I guess. Invasion's End, still not great against Plush Collection. They can still keep making more things. And then on HSquid's side, just to make sure I'm not missing the game, we have Illusory Savior, Looming Psyhawk, Masksmith. Yeah, once again, if you are worried about your creatures getting removed, you can bring in like melons and saviors, but it doesn't look like that was Crush's plan. It looks like Crush's plan was mainly just burning at the face. And Psyhawk does something against Savvy Smith, but not much. So yeah, I think we might see some melons or saviors coming in. At least 1 melon, just as a thing you could get off Ozin's Blessing, maybe. But otherwise, it looks like HQ is content to be the beatdown here. And just apply pressure with the most streamlined, aggressive possible version of their deck. Just thinking, suppose Crush kills Tyke with kills Tyke with the high voltage. Then HSquid can't play and copy an escapist because it's not corrupted. Might play like foreign encounter first in that case. In that game, it hit Menelea. Maybe there were other options, but whatever it hits can probably get killed by um, Set Ablaze. Either way, you do have to wear like Crush does not have great ways of killing like 4+ toughness creatures, and certainly does not have enough burn to kill every creature HSquid plays, even on a mull to 5. So at some point, he's going to have to transition into the burn plan. It was just unfortunate it had to transition into the burn plan with kind of just a Cryo Phoenix as backup damage. No Brass Oracle, no Keranos, no even no Savvy Smith uh, to kind of keep things running. HSquid, rapid sideboarding, maybe had a plan for this in advance. Crush is thinking it over. Oh yes, I guess while we're here, I can talk a little bit more at length about what happened in my round one. So I was up against Scribble, curator and designer of Celasterae, which is a set being submitted to Revolution this month. Scribble's on Bant Control. It's kind of a control mirror. My deck is, at the end of the day, kind of a control deck. And it's a control mirror all about having the right read on your opponent, hitting your land drops. I don't know if I had the wrong reads or if I had the right reads. My opponent just drew the cards I hope they didn't draw. At one point, I kind of bet the farm on running out my end step um, Jetstream Cruiser in the hope that my opponent did not have Sealing Strike, which was, I think, a reasonable bet to make considering they have two Sealing Strikes in the main, one in the sideboard, and in that game, one was already in their graveyard. But in terms of they did have the Sealing Strike, and after that, I did not have enough pressure, or I did not have answers for their Jetstream Cruiser, which they got down and was able to kill me before I was able to pull away with the game with my Sizcall. So, an unfortunate 0-2 for me. I'm beginning to suspect that those receives in my main deck should probably be some kind of more aggressive one drop, like, what is it called? Aphanai Reveler. HSquid on the draw this game with 2 lands, Escapist, keeping in the Cyhawks, interestingly. Keeping in or just like leaving in the Cyhawk, or bringing in the Cyhawks, interesting. This looks like a very capable hand. Escapist ramp, have things to do. Would love to hit a third land drop at some point. Both players keep 7. Crush looking at 4 lands. Brass Oracle, Worm Shot makes somewhat sense. And Keranos' Judgment, which is here because it can bounce Plush Collection, I think. There's no artifacts to kill, so that's got to be what this is for. Squid draws a land, but it is a tap land. But that is not the end of the world. You can go turn 2 Escapist, turn 3, use Escapist to play one of the 3s. Hopefully after that, um, you have Pendrath available. Crush drawing, Set Ablaze. Could just run it out at face, but you don't really want to discard any of these. You want to discard Flashback cards, which Crush is notably missing right now, and we in fact are not going to see Set Ablaze here. Also, you really want to be able to set ablaze a turn 2 Concurrent Escapist, which is in fact what is going to happen here, unless HSquid draws something very weird. I'm not sure what HSquid could draw that would possibly make them not shock in or play a land and play Escapist. Okay, well, untapped land is nice. Shocking in is maybe not nice against a deck with a lot of burn, but Escapist comes down. This Escapist is presumably going to eat removal. Although it is somewhat awkward for Crush to not be able to spend any mana on turn 2. Would have loved to run out a Savvy Smith, or even just get an Industrialize going on turn 2. This is a Flashback deck, so I will pop out the graveyard. And wow, okay, all the sideboard cards have come in. Careless Judgment is in, Worm Shot is in, and Molten Erosion even is in. And we are not killing Escapist right away. We are going to make the mana efficient play and do Brass Oracle first. Which, oh yeah, Brass Oracle, it even survives Molten Erosion because it gets a +1/+1 counter in response to Molten Erosion. So that is very nice. HSquid here, kind of world is their oyster. They are attacking with their 1/2 Concurrent Escapist, which is Okay, right, because we threaten Odin's Blessing, 4 mana, lay a put +1/+1 counter on it, and we don't need the 4 mana, so we managed to get in a cheeky extra 1 damage here. And then it is going to be Ironback Tyke. That makes sense. Gets you an untapped 4th land. And it's beefy enough to block or possibly trade with Brass Oracle. All the things that are happening here make sense. And HSquid is just playing out a nice, good curve. This is kind of like your normal curve for this deck. Crush draws another land. And no convenient way to kill Ironback Tyke. Like you could Worm Shot it. That's what you'd have to do. You'd have to spend the full 4 mana. Not ideal to spend your whole turn on that. Could also be, I guess, no way to cast 2 spells this turn. So I think it might just be, yeah, Worm Shot, just to the Tyke, get counter on Brass Oracle. Okay, a Brass Oracle with a counter on it is like a serious clock, especially if Crush can come up with some of the 1 mana flashback sorceries, the Industrialize or Igneous Visions. And it stops HSquid from corrupting these escapists. Yeah, HSquid on. I'm just going to look through the deck. Saboteur's Immolation, and that's it. No other removal at all. HSquid completely incapable of ever killing this Brass Oracle unless Crush, for some reason, decides to block with it. And that is certainly a scary place to be, with the knowledge that your opponent could, like, I mean, from HSquid's perspective, entirely possible that Crush goes next turn, Igneous, Industrialize, kill you. Um, or even like that's 12. I guess you would need Igneous, Industrialize, Firebolt. That does kill you. For an encounter, finds Contest Coordinator, which at very least blocks Brass Oracle here. And we are very likely going to see, after this contest grabs another foreign encounter, quick grab. Let me look at the other options. There were the Forest, Ozin's Blessing, Mountain, and Contest Coordinator. So this was the only legal option. Probably going to be land, another Concurrent Escapist, if I had to guess. Yep. Okay, let's see. Now, luckily for HSquid, Crush does not have the ability to cast tons of sorceries all in one turn. Um, at least with the cards currently in their hand. So this Brass Oracle is not threatening lethal imminently, but is still quite scary. Temple of Origins, so the tap land. And we might see Set Ablaze trying to dig for more proactive things, or we might see Molten Erosion just to clean up the escapists and get yet another counter on the Oracle. Both reasonable play. I guess you could do both. You can Erosion first and then Set Ablaze. You could also Set Ablaze the Coordinator, Molten Erosion, counter on Oracle, kills all of HSquid's creatures. Then you get to attack for 4. With the Brass Oracle. That seems actually like a very good option here. Although I think if you were doing that, you'd Set Ablaze first so you can discard cards and see if you draw a better play. Yep. Molten Erosion. 2 damage marked on each of these creatures. Follow it up. Yep. Set Ablaze on Contest Coordinator. Exactly. Which will deal 4 off of the Brass Oracle trigger. Yep. Sorry, I've been missing the chat for a while. Yep. And HSquid has already taken 8, reflecting the Brass Oracle attack. And this is, yeah, this is how things go badly for HSquid. Opponent has the kind of the fast draw with the Oracle. Oracle being the fastest clock. Keranos is slower but protected from removal, but in this matchup you just want Oracle because all your creatures are protected from removal anyways. And HSquid really just having to hope there's no sorceries in hand, which currently there aren't. Yeah, well, Keranos' Judgment, yeah, this is lethal. Keranos' Judgment gets back Set Ablaze face is lethal. So we are going to be going to a game 3 here. Still unsure why Keranos' Judgment is in this deck. Oh, okay. We can instead play Keranos and then play Keranos' Judgment, which will deal one to the opponent. I mean, I think Crush is still going to win, but um, it's going to take an additional turn, I guess. We can leave up Keranos' Judgment, I guess. Sure. Yeah, and then HSquid certainly forced a block here to not be dead to any instant. Some choice of like, is this double block Tyke escape? Yeah, this is okay. Okay, so this is actually how HSquid is capable of getting back in this because with this triple block, HSquid having to assume like I'm dead to burn anyways. If they did this, they don't have burn. With this, I see. Karen's Judgment bounces the token Escapist, and puts a counter on Brass Oracle, meaning that there is not enough power to kill Brass Oracle. And HSquid once again loses all of their creatures and takes one. Okay. A more roundabout way of winning the game, but a way of winning the game regardless. Yep. HSquid having to think about, like, don't even get an untapped land this turn unless you want to shock. There's no way you want to shock Verdant Sanctum. You can't even cast two spells. You foreign encounter and hope. I don't think there's something you can get. Looming Psyhawk could at least chump and gain life. Um, yeah, you can't get anything big enough to block Brass Oracle or kill it. Yep, and that's a GG. So yeah, looks like a swingy matchup. Both sides having creatures that are very dangerous if left unchecked, and a limited ability to check their opponent's creatures. Um, or at least if HSquid creatures get sufficiently large. Well, HSquid looking at another. Ooh, okay, this game doesn't have white mana. It has turn 2 consequencer if you find white mana. And then Ironback deck if you find white mana. Otherwise, foreign counter doesn't looks like it's going to be a keep anyways. Crush looking at two lands. Burn, burn, burn. Karen's Judgment, Savvy Smith. Looks like a keep to me. Turn 2 Savvy Smith. Very strong play. Even non-promo Savvy Smith, I think, is very threatening. Although the promo obviously is stronger. And Primal Fissure, great. You wanted your third land at some point, so you could cast these Worm Shots eventually. And HSquid really hoping untapped white source here, so Contest Corner can happen instead of nothing. That is not an untapped white source. It's really not what HSquid wanted. So it's going to be tapped Urban Jungle and pass. Now, see what's also quite good in this deck. Once again, you're generating tons of concurrent escapists. This can become very cheap to activate. Crush going to fetch because, I guess Crush doesn't want to draw Island here. Actually, kind of a toss up. If I was Crush, I might be okay with drawing Island, so I might have cracked on main phase. But looked like Crush's interest is like assuming Savvy Smith is gonna industrialize, which didn't have the hand of time, are gonna find me um a fourth land eventually. So there's no reason to kind of fish for one by cracking main phase. HQ draws another white card in Plush Collection and is going to foreign encounter. HQuid has two stockbrokers. That's a white source you can find off a foreign encounter. Otherwise, just looking for like Ironback Tyke. That's also a white source you can find off foreign encounter. Melon was the best option. Yeah, let me look at the other options. There was also a land, Ozin's Blessing, Illusory Savior. So we've chosen Melon over Illusory Savior. Interesting. How do I feel about that? This Melon has a counter on it, by the way. I guess Illusory Savior with a counter on it blocks Savvy Smith. That's nice. Um, Melon, I guess, can protect other creatures without dying, and it gets you the pledge. But I am a little perplexed by not grabbing the Illusory Savior here. Um, Given that Melon, I guess you're not likely to see Molten Erosion with a Savvy Smith in play, but it also doesn't die to that. It doesn't die to Firebolt, which is certainly a card Crush could have here. Crush drawing a Cryo Phoenix. And we're likely to see an Industrialize here because with Savvy Smith, the first spell's free. Nope, just the Cryo Phoenix. Cryo Phoenix and pass, presumably. Don't want to trade off your Savvy Smith for just a Melon that has nothing to protect right now. And Melon. Okay, oh yes, and Cryo Phoenix lets you discard cards, which in this case is going to be the Industrialize and just the Industrialize. Makes sense. Keeping both Worm Shots, High Voltage Judgment. Get in for 2. Okay. HSquid, still no white source, so forced to really just cast Ozin's Blessing this turn, it looks like. Attacking with Melon, nothing for it to protect, so no reason not to, unless you want to guess dissuade Savvy Smith blockers. No, we're running up Menelaya instead of Ozin's. Sure. These creatures very well protected, looks like. Crush draws another Cryo Phoenix, which is a little redundant. And we might start seeing the kind of storm off turns from Crush here. Flashback Industrialize gives you high voltage on Menelaya or face, probably face. Presumably that lets you rummage away this Cryo Phoenix, find more cheap spells, or just recast Industrialize again after it gets put back in hand of Cryo Phoenix. That is not what is happening. Instead, what is happening is second Cryo Phoenix. No discard. Interesting. Why do we want second Cryo Phoenix in play before we cast Industrialize? I don't know. It seems to me just that you could just as easily cast Cryo Phoenix after the Industrialize, um, and leave yourself open to maybe like drawing a Brass Oracle off the Industrialize. Presumably, you want to play that instead of Cryo Phoenix if you had the option. Crush looking at the top card for Industrialize. Added a red mono with Savvy Smith, leaving up the option of High Voltage in case didn't find anything else better with the Industrialize. Puts back a Savvy Smith and draws a Set Ablaze. Okay. And I think we're going to see High Voltage. I guess High Voltage on Menelaya gets in for 2 because you attack with Savvy Smith. So it's only 1 less damage than High Voltage face. Well, that doesn't work because Menelaya can protect it. I guess we'd rather remove a counter from Melon than kill Menelaya and get in for 2 with Savvy Smith. It's not a choice. Not sure I completely understand what's going on here. But Crush still in a decent position here because HQ is just not presenting that much of a clock on these Cryo Phoenixes, even without any burn backing them up. Okay, yeah, Crush confirming that was just an error. Not like the creature type, like a mistake. And Construct off of High Voltage. Trigger from Savvy Smith, happy with the cards in hand, it looks like, not wanting to discard them. Even though with 2 Cryo Phoenix, Industrialize is basically a free discard. It's the same card in hand or in graveyard. Oh, and offering the trade. Willing to trade Savvy Smith for Menelaya here. And HSquid more than happy to take up that offer. Unwilling to take 6 here, and also Savvy Smith is a mono source for Crush's deck, so good to keep that down. And HSquid draw just continues to be awkward. Still no white source. For an encounter here, Ironback Tyke is your best hit, I think, by far. That gets you a white source. If you hit Ironback Tyke, you can then get a Plains Contest Coordinator. And the hit is I guess Conor can also get a Plains, possibly. What are the other options? There was an Escapist in there. That was the only other option. Yeah, Coordinator makes sense over that. Yeah, HSquid, I mean, even just on board, you have to assume Crush has good cards in hand because they didn't choose to discard to the Savvy Smith. or the second Cryo Phoenix. And that is, yeah, Contact Corner finding foreign encounter, immediately cycle it, finally finding a planes, but its stat can Viviplex. But in this situation, that's just as good. But yeah, HSquid is incapable of blocking or killing these Cryo Phoenixes, so is going to be dead in minimum, uh, like 4 turns, and presumably you have to guess it's 3 turns is possible. Um, but Ironback Tyke is on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The Tyke itself, Penrath and Melon is 7. So that could be a source of a fast kill pretty soon. Crush with a land off the top, but it is a tap land. And considering what to do here, looks like set ablaze here. Melon or face? It's Melon. Makes sense. Melon going to give Contest Coordinator Pro Red on the way out in case the card in hand is Frag, which could be relevant. Set ablaze. Any discard from this? I could see discarding Primal Fissure. I could see discarding Industrialize. Yep, Industrialize. Always discard Industrialize because you have Primal Phoenix in play. Primal Fissure. Sorry, not discard Primal Fissure. Discard Worm Shot. That's just probably too slow here. We are looking for. Oh wow, the Pro Red on Contact Coordinator isn't not Pro Red. Hexproof Red on Contact Coordinator is in fact relevant because it cannot be fragged right now. And Crush, in fact, incapable of casting any of the spells in hand. Going to have to be Flashback Industrialize here. Post combat, it looks like. No, not casting the industrial. Why did you not cast Industrialize? It goes back to your hand with you could minimum it's scry 1, just mill the top card of your deck. I don't. Okay, that was I don't understand why that happened. Ironback Tyke gonna go get planes almost assuredly here. Top deck was Primal Fissure. Planes goes down, and this could be Ozen's Blessing or Plush Collection or Contest Coordinator here. H would have to think, how do I set up for a big Ironback Tyke turn next turn that either kills them or forces them into some bad blocks? Gonna attack with Contest Coordinator here. Yes, could come into a tight damage rate. Crush with no burn that can hit face in hand or graveyard. I guess can Karen's Judgment 4 set ablaze for 2 points of burn, but that's quite slow. Oh, and we're leaving up Ozen's Blessing. That makes sense. That might be for like Menelea. That's the most power you can get with an Ozen's Blessing, 3 power. And it's 3 power that kind of like persists through Ironback type activation, which is very nice. Crush draws another tap land. Did not crack Primal Fissure this time, so was hoping to draw an untapped land. Why is that? Oh yeah, I guess untapped land here would have been 6 mana for Keranos's plus and plus Set Ablaze plus Industrialize, I guess was the reason for not cracking Primal on upkeep. But sure to crack it now. No, that's not graveyard. Okay, whoops. Okay, that's an easy fix. Accidentally milled a card instead of searching, but doesn't matter. Just you're gonna shuffle anyway, so put it back on top. Find island or mountain. Island probably, yeah. Right, mountain rather. Mountain probably. Yep, that makes sense. You need. I mean, you're not casting as molten erosion, but you could use double red for stuff like set of blades. But maybe you also want to like industrialize. So that would be a reason to get island. The mono requirements in this blue-red deck can be quite intense because of stuff like industrialize and igneous. But we're going to start off with frag here, and it's going to be Ozen's Blessing for Illusory Savior. You can't get Menelea and use it, so it has to be Illusory Savior. This one. Yep. Would have loved another rule spell in response to this. I guess you could have, in response to Odin's Blessing, uh, high voltage that, but I don't even know if that's worth it. The other option is like you could just get Menelaya and just let the Ironback type die. But I'm presuming the fact that you cast in response means that this is looking for. Um... Oh wait, no, there's another option. You can get Melon. Melon pledges Penrath. Penrath pumps Ironback type. Yeah, that's very funny. Ha. Yeah, and then you get a Melon in play instead of not having a Melon in play. That's a better option. A very cute Penrath Insurgency interaction. Well, that's Frag dealt with. And as Crush, you gotta be counting, okay, what? Yeah, 5/5 with 4 damage marked on it, which is true. Could kill it with a Molten Erosion, but obviously not gonna do that. So as Crush, you have to think minimum bad thing that happens to me is they activate Ironback type. It becomes a 7/7, then we have a 4/4 and a 3/3. So that's 14 damage. Yes. So from Crush's perspective, you are unlikely to be dead on board. Oh, and Crush has a response with Melon on the stack. Oh, this is going to be Keranos' Judgment, bounce Penrath Insurgency? That is what it's going to be. So Melon is going to pledge instead of. Sorry, Melon's going to make a Clique token instead of activating Penrath. So, end of the day, basically this counters the Penrath activation. Penrath goes away, Penrath comes back off of Melon, uh, Ironback Tyke dies. Interesting turn here. But from Crusher's perspective, I completely understand this. Ironback Tyke is the main way that HSquid is going to be able to like kill you quickly. And getting it off board reduces HSquid's damage potential enormously. I believe this does work. Melon, like, make a pledge, checks if you control a clique on resolution. So currently stack is Frag, then Melon Trigger, then Keranos' Judgment. Um, Keranos' Judgment will remove Penrath. Melon make a pledge trigger will resolve, see that there are no cliques, make a clique, and then Frag will resolve and kill Ironback Tyke. Or deal 4 damage to Ironback Tyke, which will then die to state based actions. I believe they're contacting a judge right now. Ooh, lots of things happening. So when the dust settles, what's it going to look like? Well, Crush spent their whole turn on this, so that's decent news for HSquid. But HSquid's going to be sitting here with a Conjure Corner for counter on it, a melon, and some stuff in hand. So if HSquid doesn't find something more useful, they can play Plush Collection and start making copies of Melon. But presumably they're going to play Conjure Coordinator first, look for like another Ironback Tyke. I am not a Rev Judge. Okay. But yeah, Oops, sorry, I misspelled that. It's yeah, I guess this is Cairn's judgment with apostrophe s. Okay, so I guess while we're here, both sides of the table here are on mixed full arts, which is interesting. Crush is on Karsis. No, that's not Karsis. That's Karslov Mountains and Oldum Islands. I do love the Oldum Island. Uh, I'm consistently amazed that Matt was able to find 5 different arts of giant swords sticking into the ground for the basics. I mean, a lot more than 5. Um, there's a lot more swords sticking to the ground in Oldum. I think they're a common motif. Uh, in these are both like pretty, I'd say, like violent, aggressive basics. Um, they they seem like a good fit for a burn deck. So kind of the most burned island you could possibly play. Uh, these are the same frame. I forget which frame this is. I believe it might be like it's one of the unsets I think this frame is from. Meanwhile, can I see one of HSquid's mountains? No, they don't have a mountain in play. But at the very least, they're playing the Gary of the Quaking City Plains. I do love this land. And of course, our new hotness, the Kitsuo Dusk of Time um, Forest. Excellent choices on both sides of the table. Yep, Tyke dies, Penref comes back. Crush attacks for 5. And HSquid is in trouble. Another plush collection. Well, this is going to be contest coordinator first, almost assuredly. Yep. And what you're hoping for is you find Ironback Tyke, you play Ironback Tyke, your opponent has 0 burn and can find 0 burn. You do not find Ironback Tyke. You see Menelea, miss, 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 and Concurrent Escapist. Okay, not ideal, but you could draw Ironback Tyke next turn and you could play and activate it in the same turn. So that's fine. Then you have to hope your opponent doesn't have any burn that hits face in hand, and doesn't draw any, and doesn't find any of Industrialize. Or another Cryo Phoenix, which would also be lethal. We're going to attack with one of the contest coordinators because we need our opponent low as possible so that the Iron. Because even when we top deck Ironback Tyke next turn and activate it, it only pumps the rest of our creatures. It itself won't be able to attack. Okay. Well, Crush gets to cast 2 Industrializes. Here we see the downside of getting the mountain instead of the island before. So let me just think. Okay. Bo's best possible scenario. HSquid cracks Primal Fissure on upkeep. Is going to have 4 creatures in play because there's going to be an extra melon on the battlefield. 4 creatures, Ironback Tyke. That's 13 damage. Oh yes, by the way, if 2 Industrialize, you get to flash and a Cryo Phoenix, you get to Flashback Industrialize, discard Industrialize, and that's kind of that's 4 mana. Sorry, that's basically engine. It's pay a blue mana, scry 1, draw a card. But here we've discarded Temple of Origin instead, because that's also useless. Drew an island. Okay. Time to industrialize again. Oh, but like by doing it this way, you've kind of desynced things. Now, because you want 1 in hand, 1 in graveyard, you can flashback the 1 in graveyard, discard the 1 in hand. You don't want 2 in hand, because then you end up with 2 in graveyard, and you might be forced to discard a real card instead of an industrialize, 2 and industrialize. So I think you always want to discard industrialize over Temple of Origins in this scenario. It does not matter. You need to find burn, even in the rare case that HSquid has the kill next turn, which I believe they don't. No, it's only 13. Right? I'm not missing anything. No, wait. No, can't also. If you could cast Menelea, that would get you to 15, but you can't cast Menelea. Okay. But doesn't matter because eventually found Set Ablaze, and that's going to be the win for Crush Castle right here in a tight 3 games. Okay, so sorry I couldn't get you my round one, but hopefully this was. I think this was a more exciting match than my round one. Let me tell you. HSquid is upset, and I will hopefully see you in round two. HSquid realizing could have pledged to the silly men, giving instant tap down for Melon. Probably still dies, but is better. Yep. Okay, hopefully my round two will be on camera and more close. Yeah, HSquid stuck on white for a lot of that game. That certainly hurt. Tight games. Revolution, as always, the greatest format in Magic. Always great games. See you guys next time. Good night.